The boxes that broke the neighborhood. It was a crisp September morning in Maple Grove, a tidy suburban enclave where lawns were clipped and mailboxes stood in perfect rows. I stood on my porch, balancing a moving dolly stacked with cardboard boxes labeled VA records, casework. My wife, Clara, a retired Army major with 20 years of service, was unloading more boxes from our SUV. Her calm, steady hands betrayed none of the weight she'd carried through deployments. But then a voice sliced through the quiet like a fire alarm. 911. She's got classified files. I saw government seals on those boxes. The accusation came from Karen Mitchell, the newly elected HOA president, her voice shrill enough to rattle windows. Neighbors peeked out, some stepping onto porches, phones already recording. Clara paused, her eyes meeting mine with a subtle shake of her head. Don't engage. Not yet. Karen stormed to her driveway, phone to her ear, pointing at Clara like she was aiming a weapon. Yes, officer, she's moving top-secret documents into her house. You need to get here now. My gut twisted. We'd only been in Maple Grove 3 weeks, barely unpacked, and already this. Sirens wailed in the distance, and a sheriff's cruiser pulled up, lights flashing against the brick homes. Clara set her box down, squared her shoulders, and waited, her face a mask of calm. The deputy, a tall man with sandy hair, stepped out, his hand near his holster. Karen pounced. That's her. Those boxes are evidence of something illegal. Search her house. The deputy's eyes landed on Clara, and his posture shifted. He pulled off his sunglasses, blinked, and said, Major Thompson? Ma'am. Then, in front of the gaping neighborhood, he snapped a crisp salute. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Karen's jaw dropped, her phone still pressed to her ear. Clara returned the salute, precise and unhurried. I stepped forward, resting a hand on a box. Welcome to Maple Grove, honey, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos. Looks like we've made an impression. The deputy turned to Karen, his tone cold. Ma'am, put the phone away. The cul-de-sac fell silent, but I felt its storm was just beginning. Maple Grove settled back into its routine, but the air crackled with tension. Karen's outburst hadn't faded. It had planted seeds of suspicion. Neighbors whispered, and Clara became the target of sidelong glances. She carried on, spending evenings in her study, the desk lamp glowing over stacks of VA files. One night, I brought her tea and caught a name on her screen, James Carter. Karen's late husband. That name sounds familiar, I said, frowning. Clara hesitated, then nodded. His death benefits. It landed on my desk at the VA. And Tom, things don't add up. My stomach tightened. Karen's hysteria about classified files wasn't random fear. She was terrified of what those boxes held. The next day, Frank Wilson, the HOA treasurer and a reserve officer, stopped by with a folder. Tom, he said, voice low, you need to see this. He spread out financial records, 3 years of HOA contracts for landscaping, maintenance, all signed by Karen. The prices were double market rates, with no competitive bids. The kicker? The payouts aligned with James Carter's life insurance collection. Karen had turned the HOA into her personal piggy bank. That night, Clara closed James's file, her hand lingering on his name. Tom, she said, her gaze heavy. I don't think Karen just stole from the HOA. I think she stole from the government and from a soldier's memory. The HOA meeting was Maple Grove's monthly circus, held in a clubhouse with faded shutters and the smell of burnt coffee. Karen sat at the front, clipboard in hand, her smile sharp as a blade. Neighbors filled the folding chairs, murmuring about Clara's secret government work. Frank stood to give the treasurer's report, his voice steady but tense. Landscaping, $32,600. Tree trimming, $14,000. Pest control, $9,200. Mrs. Jenkins, a retiree with a knack for numbers, frowned. That's high. Wasn't it less last year? Frank met Karen's eyes. Considerably less. Karen's pen tapped faster. Inflation, she snapped. Costs are up everywhere. But Frank wasn't done. He held up a sheet. 3 years, same vendors, inflated rates, and missing funds. Every authorization has your name, Karen. The room shifted. Chairs creaked. Karen's smile faltered. You're out of line, Frank, she hissed. But he pressed on. This community isn't your wallet. The silence that followed was deafening. Mrs. Jenkins whispered, "Where's the money going?" Karen's answer: repairs. Maintenance was flimsy, and everyone knew it. That night, Clara said quietly, "She's using the HOA to cover something bigger. It ties to James's file." I squeezed her hand, staring at the glowing windows of Maple Grove. Karen wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She was running a con. Karen struck back fast. Flyers appeared under doormats, screaming, "Do you know your neighbors?" A grainy photo showed Clara carrying a box, captioned, "Federal Surveillance. Classified Secrets." At the grocery store, people avoided me. An HOA email urged residents to report unusual behavior, like excessive paperwork or government vehicles. It didn't name Clara, but it didn't have to. One evening, a manila envelope appeared on our porch. Inside were doctored service records with a scrawled note. "How much does your wife tell you?" Clara read it and set it down, unfazed. "She's fishing," she said, "trying to break us." But the pressure grew. Neighbors stopped inviting us to barbecues. Kids were pulled inside when we passed. Then Frank brought a flash drive. Emails showed Karen bullying a contractor to process inflated invoices. "The funds are covered," she wrote. Covered by what? Clara locked her files and said, "She's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes." Late one Tuesday, Clara called me into her study. Papers covered her desk, one stamped treatment denied. PTSD therapy. Another, a letter in James Carter's shaky handwriting, read, "The therapy's helping. I feel like I can come home." The contradiction hit hard. Someone faked his refusal, Clara said. If his treatment was successful, the payout would have been delayed. But a denial? That's a quick check. I stared at James's signature, rage simmering. Karen stole his chance to heal. Clara nodded. "And we're going to prove it." She pulled another phileotherapist's report showing James's progress, but the VA's copy was altered, signatures forged. "Sloppy forgery," Clara said. "Her fingerprints are everywhere." That night, I caught Karen's curtains twitch across the street. She was watching. Clara looked up from her desk. "These boxes are her undoing. We just need to show the world." A rustle in the backyard woke me. My phone pinged. Motion detected. The camera feed showed two figures, Karen and a tall man with a crowbar. She pointed at our study window, whispering frantically. My pulse raced. "That's breaking and entering," I hissed. Clara grabbed her jacket. "Don't call it in yet. We need intent." We watched as Karen tried the door, her frustration clear when it wouldn't budge. She gestured toward the side gate, then glanced at our window, eyes wild. They vanished into the dark. Clara's voice was steel. "We set a trap, and she'll walk into it." Frank devised the plan. We'd plant decoy Phyllis official looking, but fakey in a box by the door. Clara crafted pages mirroring James's case. Bait Karen couldn't resist. Frank coordinated with Deputy Harris, who'd wait nearby in plain clothes. That night, we staged the house. Lights dim, box visible. At 9 p.m., gravel crunched outside. Karen's silhouette appeared, clutching a key she shouldn't have. The door clicked open. She knelt by the box, muttering, "They can't know. James's file wasn't supposed to exist." Clara stepped into the light. "And yet, here you are confessing." Karen spun, clutching a page. I had no choice. The payments would have stopped. Frank emerged, badge gleaming. "Karen Mitchell, stop." Headlights swept the porch. Deputy Harris entered. I heard enough. Karen's shoulders slumped as cuffs clicked on. "I just wanted to survive," she whispered. But the scattered papers told a different story. The next morning, Clara prepared a final trap, a form disguised as a settlement to close James's file. By signing, Karen would admit to forging records and stealing funds. Frank brought in a handwriting expert to compare her signatures. That evening, Karen, out on bond, arrived pale and trembling. Clara slid the envelope across. One signature, and it's over. Karen signed, her hand shaking. Frank sealed the page in a sleeve. "We've got her." Karen's face twisted. "You tricked me." Clara's gaze was unflinching. "No, you fooled yourself." Deputy Harris returned with officers, and Karen was led away, her confession sealed. The Denver courthouse smelled of wood and marble. Neighbors filled the benches, veterans, widows, families tired of Karen's reign. The prosecutor laid out the evidence. Inflated HOA contracts, forged VA records, gambling debts. But it was Emily Carter, James's sister, who broke the room. She held a worn letter. James wrote me every week. The nightmares are less now, he said. But the records claimed he gave up. That wasn't him. Karen took the stand, her voice faltering. They said the money would stop if he kept treatment. I had debts. The judge's voice cut through. You forged documents, denied a veteran care, betrayed your community. The sentence, 22 months in prison, 3 years probation, $315,000 in restitution, and a permanent ban from financial roles. As Karen was led away, Emily touched Clara's hand. Thank you for giving James his voice back. The neighbors sat in silence, justice settling like dust. Maple Grove healed. Frank became HOA president, opening the books to scrutiny. A memorial garden bloomed for James, its stone reading, in memory of Sergeant James Carter. His fight lives on in truth. Clara became a quiet hero, though she waved off praise. I just did my job, she'd say. But the VA noticed, assigning her fraud cases across states. One evening, Frank stopped by. Karen's payments went through shell companies in Nevada, Delaware. Someone bigger was pulling strings. Clara's eyes darkened. This isn't just her. Later, she showed me files, missing benefits, lost medals, family silenced. It's a pattern, Tom. And they'll know I'm digging. Small warnings followed a car parked too long, silent calls. But Clara pressed on. At James's garden, she laid flowers, Emily at her side. There are others, Clara said. Families still hurting. I nodded. And you'll find them. Months later, Maple Grove thrived. The clubhouse hummed with potlucks, not threats. Clara's lamp burned late, chasing shadows bigger than Karen. One night, at James's garden, she took my hand. Truth always surfaces, Tom. I believed her. The case closed with Karen's conviction, but Clara's work uncovered a network of fraud. She reported it to the VA, and federal agents took over, dismantling a scheme that had preyed on veterans for years. Maple Grove, once scarred, became a beacon of trust, its garden a reminder that justice, however slow, prevails. What do you think about the fight for justice in Maple Grove? Have you ever faced corruption or betrayal in your community? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss how we confront lies and rebuild trust. Your voice matters.